All right, we are back. And thanks for visiting our YouTube channel and our podcast. I'm going to have Mary do most of the talking, maybe. Uh, it's about what is posture work. So hit it.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I don't like that. That's stupid. Hi, I am Kay, and this is Mary, and we are going to talk today about what is posture work. And actually, Mary's going to do most of the talking. I may be involved with someone like interruptions, which I will try not to, but hit it. What is posture work, Mary?
So what is posture work? I think what I want to do is start with kind of the history, where this came into being. So how I came to the work is that I was listening to a podcast, and I was very interested in barefoot shoes and walking barefoot and what it could do for the body. And so I was listening to the a podcast, and I heard a gentleman speak about something I never heard about before. It was called Egoscue. And to me, I was like, what? That it sounded a little bit familiar because I think I had heard it at one point. And he went into the history of what this movement therapy was about.
Yeah.
The founder, Egoscue is his last name. His name is Pete Egoscue. And just his story in short is that he was, a jock. He was, a warrior. He was in the military. He was in the Vietnam War. He was very fit, very successful person. And, but he got shot. I think as he was being like medevaced out or something. He got shot in the butt. I don't know what, but he went into recovery and didn't come back to his former self. He had laid in bed, thought at certain points he was dying. It took a long time for him to go through his recovery. And on the other side of that recovery, he was never the same. So he went through everything the military could offer him. And in the end, they basically told him it was PTSD. And he's like, no, I was shot, I mean, I'm fine,
And PTSD does fall in line with that, but they're trying to say it's all in his head.
Yeah, that's the way that he interpreted it. And you remember this is Vietnam War. This is many, many, many years ago, and so he's like, no, it's my body. You haven't made me right. I'm not 100% again. I'm not who I was. And so he started a personal journey searching for some way to put himself and many other people that he knew at the time back on their feet. And one day he was in a bookstore and he found some type of anatomy book and looked at, an example individual just kind of going through and looked at that and said, well, I don't look like that. That's not the way I stand. That's not my alignment. And so he thought, well, if I can strive to look like that, then perhaps I would feel better. So he then took on a myriad of different movement lines of studying and ended up coming up with a way to utilize simple exercises that worked on the aligning muscles of the body, the postural muscles, which allowed him to regain his alignment with his stature, with his ability, with his range of movement, refinding strength, refinding energy, vitality. His mental landscape changed. He became someone who was very empowered, very excited about life, someone who went from a place where he was just completely, disabled as far as he was concerned, to someone who was bringing this work to others and saying, if I can, let me try to help. And that's where Egoscue came from.
And then what made you so interested in this?
Like myself, like the story I told in our last podcast, I also was going down hill. And in my opinion,
Not
a
as
lot
bad
of
as me.
people, might have looked at me from the outside and said, oh, look at, she's got great posture or whatever. But what happened was I was in the, listening to the podcast, and they had a very simple exercise. And I did this very simple exercise, which I would have said would do nothing. And immediately I found this sensation it was around my sacrum for me, kind of like this rushing warm sensation. I'm like, whoa, what was that?
Okay, so just to make it a little bit more, what do you call it? Simple, because to me, sacrum, where is it and what is it?
It's like the base of your spine. It's
Okay.
where your your tailbone, kind of that big bone in the back of your, lower back.
Okay.
Around there, and I suddenly felt this warm rush, and I was like, well, what was that? That surprised me. And then when I stood up, I could feel a measurable difference from before the exercise to after the exercise. I'm like, okay. And then they were talking about, well, buy the book. I'm like, hey, I'm cheap. I can buy a book, I'm all about books. So then I bought the book and I tried it on myself. In the book, it's called Pain Free. You can certainly buy it. It's on Amazon. Um, it it has a bunch of exercises that are catered to areas of the body that you're hurting. And so I
And not
tried
to
those
interrupt,
things. You are interrupting.
I know.
And I tried them and I was like, wow, I'm that much better. I feel better for having doing those exercises. And I could feel a real difference in my body. And so then I kept going from there. What do you want
Yeah.
to say?
Well, and I'm sorry to interrupt because sometimes I may interrupt her because I'll forget because of my brain injury and stuff. Sometimes I can't keep track of the conversation. And I've been working really hard to not interrupt anybody. However, otherwise I'll forget. Resources she's mentioning, like Pain Free by Pete Egoscue, and previously in our other podcast is Dr. McDougall, the starch diet,
Start solution.
starch solution. The resources will be down below. We'll link the books and everything. And like she said, they're not that expensive, and there's a ton of resources. To me, as Mary is talking, she's a resource that is a lot cheaper than going to some other people. So it just keep in mind that even though we're resource, referring to read books, she can help too. So sorry. And I'll put her website down below too and how to contact her, blah 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 blah. So okay, I promise I won't interrupt as much.
Green alignment. No,
Green alignment.
green dash alignment.
Green dash alignment.
Okay, anyway.
Yes.
So, I experienced this change. I read the book. It got me very motivated. I really, really liked that we need to take personal responsibility, which I had been trying to do, either by finding various medical interventions, i.e. therapies, body work, etc., or by doing something. He doesn't talk about eating better. That's Dr. McDougall, but talking about you need to move. And I'm like, yeah, I do need to move. We need to move this body. We need to move it or lose it, kind of a thing. We've heard that, and that's absolutely true. But how does each individual come to this work? We're all individuals. We're all
Made differently.
well, we're made a little differently for sure, but we're also all the things that have ever happened to us, all those falls as a kid or all those illnesses, that we've had, or you know, injuries suffered or surgeries, replaced this or that, we're the amalgamation of everything that's happened to us. And so when you arrive to do posture work, that's part of the history. But the neat thing about posture work that I liked is that they come to you, they're not all about the past, they're about who you are in the moment. And let's look at that and create an opportunity for you to make a difference today. And so, yeah, so then I went about studying it. I got certified as a postural alignment specialist, and I've done a second level of certification in that.
how does it work? Like, I know this episode's about what is posture work.
So it's a good way to, I mean, Kay's an example of someone who's experienced it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you first came, you had your doubts. I came to Kay to say, well, could I teach this? Is this something I should learn, or is it just something I should do for myself and keep it to myself? Let's see if it helps other people. So I took it to my friends and family, and Kay's an example of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely her probably first client. And then our kids, actually, they didn't have a choice. They had to do it.
A
Um,
little bit.
a little bit, but it was also just trying to create habits, right? We all have habits and stuff. And I was seeing what she was doing and to help her out because, I do agree. I thought this was perfect profession for Mary because she cares so deeply and she understands the body. And the more I've never seen her so passionate about a subject, you know? I mean, for years, we were both in the staffing industry and we understand about that human connection. We understand about the goals and blah, blah, blah. But, it wasn't really feeding her soul. And then we became parents. And our focus was mostly on our kids, obviously. And then I would say you've been studying this for almost 3 years now.
Specifically.
And now you've been totally trained and now I've never seen her so focused and so dedicated and so passionate. And you want that in a therapist. You want that in somebody who really believes in the method. And so when I saw that, I wanted to help her continue, but I also saw the benefit for me, right? And I'm the worst client in so many ways because I'm very stubborn. The pain that I carry, whether it's internally or physically, it's hard. And she has the patience of a saint. And so I started to open up because, in essence, it's more about I am dedicated. I want this for me. Mary couldn't force me to do anything. And honestly, with the app, and there is an app that goes with this, that is fantastic. This app is PTX. Mary, when you set up appointment with Mary, you get the app. And the app is like has all the answers. Like if Mary's not accessible, which she is morning, noon, and night practically, and phone, email, whatever. But the PTX is like when she's out working with other clients, I'm here doing my thing, and I was like, "What is that static back thing?" And the app's there, and it helps you progress. And then it goes back to Mary, and Mary sees things, and I started trying it and it was so easy. I was a little hesitant because again, the pain in my knees and stuff, but I knew I had to do something. Um, and it was so easy to incorporate that in my work day. So, and I truly believe like you need to dedicate time for yourself if you're going to be best of the day, whether it's for your family or work, whatever. And I think we tend to not put ourselves first, especially women. So, what was the question?
So there's various aspects to
Yeah.
addressing, posture work. Three ways you can think about it is pain relief. We've talked a lot about that. That's kind
Yeah.
of where we're at. Um, Another way to go after it is performance. There's a lot of very well, professional athletes that are out there that wanting to stay on top of their game or get back to their game because they've hurt themselves. Many sports demand that you know, we use one side of our body. Now, I'm not an athlete per se, but say with tennis or golf, they're one-sided. You're always going to use that one side, and the body can get very much out of balance. And so where posture work comes in is it helps you realign the body to and so one side doesn't get overly strong and the other side kind of check out. And leading to, eventually to dysfunction in the body. So pain, performance, and I think at this point in our lives, we can really appreciate prevention. Um, I would like to age gracefully, and part of that is keeping up my capability in this life, whether it be my range of motion, my ability to reach up and get something off of a shelf, or um, my strength to be able to move things within my house. I may have modest goals, but that's maybe where I start. But maybe I remember way back when I was able to do something that brought me a lot of joy. And I stopped doing that a million years ago. Well, coming back to the point where your body is feeling good and you start to open up all those possibilities again, you're just like, well, I really used to love to dance, maybe I could do that again, or maybe you've stopped running or riding your bike. A lot of us, we start out when we're very young, moving in all kinds of ways, just everything. It doesn't matter. We're just having so much fun moving. As we get into school and we start to get feedback about what we're good at, our movement vocabulary or range of various things that we do starts to narrow and we start to specialize. As we specialize, that means there's a lot of movement that we're not doing. As we progress into our later life and we get our families and our focus changes off of ourselves, a lot of times we find that we are tired. We're working 40 hours a week. We're commuting. We're spending an awful lot of time sitting
In
at
our
a
chairs,
desk,
yeah.
right? Driving a car, being on our phone, and our body starts reflecting that posture. Um, so we get to that point in life, and because our body is reflecting that posture, we start to experience pain, and then we do less movement. We used to go out for a run, but now it hurts. My left knee is hurting when I run, so running's no longer good for me. I think I'll start riding my bike. So then you start riding your bike. Oh, now I'm starting to have headaches or whatever. You're not thinking it's posture. It's thinking, well, I guess I can't ride my bike anymore. Okay, well, now I think I'll do walking. It's like, and we start to reduce our activity because we don't want to experience pain.
It's that fear.
Yeah. And then little bit by little bit, you look at the folks, in their middle age to later where they're just inactive. They're just sedentary. And so much of our lives now, even when Kay and I look at our children, we're just like, wow, do they spend a lot of time sitting?
Yeah, I've been,
That wasn't my youth.
no, no.
And I know that wasn't my
And
parents,
it definitely wasn't mine.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were active. We were very much
Yeah, we had like
movers.
3 stations, like TV stations,
Yeah.
right?
There's
And
so much that
usually,
keeps
and
you bound to your chair nowadays.
yeah, and I walked everywhere. I didn't have the convenience of a motorbike or
Or a car. I
or
mean,
a
they're
car. And
amazing,
even
right?
though
But
I had a car in a
reduces our
later,
movement.
and when I was a older teenager and I had driver's license and stuff, but I walked everywhere, and then, over the weekend we were with our friends outdoors.
Yeah.
Or even the mall. You're still walking.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have any money, so it's like, well, I did. But, to me, it's like now when we see our kids, it's like a concept of like, why don't you get your friends together and go to a movie? Or, why wait to every day? Why not meet up at a park and do D&D in a park and everything? And and the excuse is like, we're too loud. I'm like, outdoors, meaning be outdoors. You can be loud outdoors and everything. And it's just all these things that they associate with its computer screen time and
Devices.
devices. Oh my good Lord.
And then the body starts to really conform around
Yeah.
those things, which is our natural adaptive quality of our body. It is genius. The body, and this I think is the exciting part about the work, is that the body is truly so intelligent. And I love that, while we can get, from so much sitting, we start to lose our lower body alignment. We start to lose the curves in our back. We're sitting on these recliners. You can see how collapsed my chest is. I'm on my phone. my arms are coming forward and turning in, and I've got little claw hands, as I'm doing this. My head's way out in front of my spine. If you think about gravity, gravity is all around us all the time. It's always way, keeping us attached to this earth. It's a beautiful thing. Humans evolved to function very well in gravity, but we are also highly adaptable. So now we're all shaped like this.
Mm.
And gravity is merciless coming down on your head. The farther it comes out in front of your spine, the more that it weighs down on us. And it becomes an oppressive, difficult force for us to, and it really starts to suck energy
Well,
out of the body.
I think the exercise you provided, you would notice how different your body is, like even the basic static back. And I'm sure Mary will show videos of her doing these exercises. And when I did static back, I can feel like my back kind of flattening, and I can feel my shoulder blades and stuff. Where when I'm doing air benching, which is one of my favorites, I almost feel like I can't put my head back because my head has been so used to being forward. And the cool thing is, the more you do this practice for yourself, because Mary can't make you do it, the more aware you're going to be. It's amazing because I'm moving muscles that I never thought even
Right.
aware of,
Right.
because I was so convinced in the past that I couldn't bend or I can't do yoga. When people ask me about posture work, I kind of call it, or green alignment, Mary's company, I kind of relate it to, it's sort of like a combination of yoga and physical therapy without the pain.
Mm.
Like, there's no pain in this work. I mean, there is some pain if you're hurting, you don't do it, right? You don't push yourself because, I've been in the was in the military. I play sports most of my life, if not all my life. I played racquetball and stuff. And when you're working out and you feel that pain, like Mary and I've been with personal trainers that would work you so much that you cry at the end of your workout. And that drive that they try to instill in you is like, push through the pain. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that.
No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Push through the pain. It's all bullshit. You don't, if you're hurt, you don't push yourself. You can still work through it, but in a smarter way. And I think we're brought up being told no pain, no gain
That's
and stuff.
definitely our generation.
And I've learned that that's not how you approach any kind of way of correcting your body and stuff. And I've caught myself, it's like, oh, I did airbrush the other day, and my leg, I had sore muscles because I'm working muscles that I haven't worked in a long time. And when I told Mary, or, I asked Mary to look and make sure I was doing it right, because, we have videos, we have resources, and I was doing everything right. But she says, if you're in pain, don't do it as long. You know, you can still do it, because I don't think that you can truly hurt yourself unless you broke your ankle. You don't do your ankle lifts and stuff. But it's not about working through the pain. It's about understanding the pain and how you use posture work to address that pain. But if you need a day or two to, pay attention to the pain, then do it. This
I think
isn't
what
for
Kay's
it.
trying to get at
Yeah,
is
thanks.
a kinesthetic awareness, to what we're trying to do is create a
Kinesthetic.
kinesthetic
Okay.
awareness, so an awareness, and open the lines of communication with the body. In posture work, pain is a very strong way of the body communicating with us. It doesn't have words, the body. It tells us very clearly that you're going to hurt yourself. Don't do that. We want to cultivate that communication from the body so that we don't push past things and go ahead and just blow through things because we know we can do it. The body's amazing. It's be like, yeah, 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 you want me to do that? I'll do it, but I'm going to use these other muscles because this one's not working. So I'm going to work around. I'll get you there. But the problem is if you're not using the right muscles that were designed for that purpose, what happens is the body compensates to get you there regardless of what it will do to you. And if you keep compensating, the original muscles that were supposed to be functional for that purpose get weaker and weaker. The compensators get stronger and stronger, but they're not designed for that work. Kind of like an elevator. You've got your elevator that can handle so much weight, and then
Yeah.
you've got, those elevators that are like the service lifts or whatever. Those are not supposed to be used by so many people so much of the time, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to use the right muscles for the right activities. And it's the way that the body was designed. But with adaptation, like we were talking before, we start to compensate. And if we can open the lines of communication with the body and understand how the body is speaking to us, then we don't have to experience pain necessarily. Like, of course, if you fall or whatever, you can hurt
And
yourself.
and you
But
yeah.
if you are listening to the body and you are using pain as this is a stop. This is not within my capabilities right now. That doesn't mean it's not going to be within your capability in 2 days, in a week, in a month. We can use whatever that movement is as a test for your readiness for that exercise. And we can back up in our work in the routines that I can give you to give you exercises that you can do so that you can build toward
The healing.
regaining, yeah, healing and regaining that function. Because again, the body is amazingly intelligent and it's also very self-healing.
And you got to trust it too. I mean, I think that pain tells you certain things. And
Yes,
I think when you heal from pain, it tells you certain things. And I want to reiterate, we're not doctors. We're not trained medical profession. So if you're in pain, I suggest you go talk to your doctor and everything and use this as an additional help and something that to focus on, because if I know pain and I've been through a lot of pain, and I can't talk highly more about this. And if you have a hurt shoulder, get it x-rayed, make sure you address it so you're not adding to the injury if it's an injury. But if you want to practice, even if you're not in pain, because we're talking a lot about pain, but even if you want to train for a marathon or train for something, this is ideal because it strengthens your body within. It addresses all the muscles
kind of working from the inside
out.
out.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we're talking about pain, but it's also something to use as
A
a main,
prevention
yeah, yeah.
a prevention opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like like we go to the gym, if we want to practice something, or if we want to build muscle, we go to the gym or we get on our bike and everything. And some of us don't have money to go to the gym, and some of us don't have great bikes and stuff. And I can't stress enough how you don't need special equipment to do this either. I mean, you have items in your home to incorporate, and Mary can show you. Like, yes, she has tools and they're not that expensive, but
But most all of
y-
them you can
yeah.
create from
Oh
things
my
within
gosh.
your house.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So, anyways, I didn't know mean to go off on a tangent, but it's really important to know that we're not in any way saying don't go to your doctor and everything. Absolutely go to your doctor and get it checked and everything. But make sure you're open to idea of controlling your own destiny when it comes to health, and being nice to yourself too.
I like that very much. Controlling, I don't know if we can truly control our destiny, but
No.
I do know that we can be empowered to open the lines of communication with the body, to put goals out there that say, I want to be able to go roller skating again. or I would like to improve my time
Or go hiking.
in my pursuit of doing a half marathon or a marathon.
Or in my case, walking my dog who's like 80 pounds and, German Shepherd, and having the ability to feel safe with him, especially if he chases a cat. I can hang on to that without the fear of falling.
Yeah, maybe walking on different surfaces. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends where you are in life, right? For some of us, even the idea of going off on, out on trails as opposed to sidewalks,
Yeah.
is really frightening because we know that we don't have the function within our ankles, to be able to handle that varied terrain. That is a sign of dysfunction. And it's your body telling you intuitively that you're not ready for that. But it's not that your body can't do that. You, as a human being, for your whole lifespan, have the ability to do amazing things. And that's very exciting to me. And then
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that attracted me to this work is that maybe I could regain that ability to
And,
be able to do
and I
X.
have. I mean, I've had 2 knee surgeries, as I shared previously, and that fear of falling controlled my entire activities. Like, I kept on saying, "No, I can't do that. No, no, no." And then I opened up and saying, "You know what? I want to do martial art and stuff. In order to do that, I need to start retraining my mind as well as my body." So when I jumped into posture work with Mary, I was hesitant, and there was times when I was kneeling, and yes, I repeat that, I kneeled, doing like a yoga move called cats and dogs. And at first it was like, it's a little painful because it's been a while since I've been on my knees. Like when you're not touching your body, the sensation of feeling that is really odd, and wasn't really much of a pain. It was more like, what is that? It's
Sure.
been so long.
Mm.
So that the mind connecting to the nerves, connecting to my muscles and stuff was re-engaged. And the fun thing is that I started feeling more confident.
Yeah.
Like that openness was like, felt really good. Like, oh my God, oh
Yeah.
my God. And everybody's like, oh God, Kay's excited. And it was because it's been so long since I felt that physical, like energized. So, and it just kept on improving because I did it every day. And every day I just got encouraged. And this mobile app, PTX, that goes along with Mary's business, it really kept me, it times you. I mean, it has everything that you feel like, "Oh, I don't have time." You have to make time. Mary doesn't have all the magic answers and everything. But for someone who was controlled by pain, I I don't understand why people aren't doing this more often. And I don't think people, it's funny, as much as the community is strong, it's still kind of not out there. Like it's not talked about. Like you talk about, all the gym, like all the different gyms and stuff like that. But, anyways, I'm going off tangent. But um
So what would it look like?
yeah, I was
What
just gonna ask you that.
Yeah, what would it look like if we met? Well, we would talk about your health history. We do need to be aware, of what you've been through, what any kind of medical conditions, what your capabilities are as you personally assess them at this point. Can you get down to the ground? Are you able, maybe you're, uncomfortable or you're not ready to get on your knees.
Yeah.
Those are things that we need to know. Um, what are your goals? What is it that you want to do? And what are you not interested in doing?
Or not willing to commit.
Not willing to, you want to get somewhere. What are you willing to do to get there? What are you not willing to do to get there? Let's talk about that. And how is it that we can create a path? Um, I do postural assessment. So I take static pictures of what you look like in 4 angles, and we kind of assess the different planes. We're looking for balance, right angles, in the body from front to back, side to side, and also in rotation. So I can show you the pictures, and we can talk about how when you see this in the body, you can see the hips are twisted. It's just like, well, what would that do? Well, it has effects all the way up and down because the body is a whole. It's a holistic approach. The there's pictures. And that's the static picture assessment. We can do a video where I can watch you walking, and then we can talk about your body in motion. What is it that you're doing when you're walking as an example of any movement that we again can see how, if your hips are rotated or you've got one shoulder up or you're not swinging one arm, your feet are turned out, or perhaps just one foot is turned out, where we can look at your current situation and then talk about how that may impact you as far as your pain goes. From there, I would go into functional testing. So what that is any movement is a functional request of the body. And we can use certain movements to be able to figure out what muscles are working, what muscles are overworking, what muscles have decided that they're taking a vacation. And from there, I take all of that information and create a menu. We talked about what it is you're willing to do. Well, some people are like, look, 5 minutes, that's all I'm willing to do. Well, it's a start,
Yeah.
right? If you can give yourself 5 minutes of movement
I mean,
every
that's like
day,
looking on your phone.
yeah, I mean, that could be a world of difference to someone who doesn't move at
Yeah.
all. And in a menu that's only 5 minutes long, you could potentially throw that in 3 times a day. So there's different ways that we can think about.
And the cool thing, what I like about this practice is that I mentioned the app, the
Yeah, and
PTX
I'll
app.
get to that.
Okay. Because it has everything like she's talking about. Like when she takes photos, those photos are dated and it shows your progress. It also gives you the
There's a
routine.
place for the videos too. So
Yep.
you can go back and look at your history.
Yep. And it sort of helps both of you, both Mary and you, on your progress.
Well, I would develop a menu of
Yep.
exercises for you to do. And this is a co-creative process.
Yep.
And then from there, pretty much I'm in coach mode. What you do is then you go home
You own
and
it.
you do the work. And when what does that mean? Okay, so Kay's mentioned this app. It's PTX therapy. And what it is I can input the exercises into the menu, then into the application. And then when you pull up your app, you'll see, here's my routine. Let's call it fresh start, and I've got 3 exercises. The routine takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and when you look at your first exercise, there's going to be a number of reps or a counter there. There's going to be pictures, a verbal, like a written description of what the exercise is, as well as often videos are in there. And it's not me, it's an app that I use to be able to deliver this content, but it is something that it will take you through your routine. It has a timer. If you're in a timed position, you're just blissing out in whatever position, there'll be a little say, okay, you're done, move on to the next thing.
And
check, check, check. You finish, you rate yourself.
Yeah.
This is my level of pain before I started. This is my level of pain after I started. After I finished. And then I'm able to access that information. When we move through the process of posture work, then what you do is you give me feedback. Mary, this exercise, I'm feeling it really, really strongly in this part of my body. Is that okay? Is that healthy? We talk about how you approach the work. Obviously, we don't want to go into areas that are painful, but work is important. We want to find that edge so that you keep making progress. And so if you felt an achiness in a shoulder, or maybe you have a funny twitch that's going on in your ankle, or maybe a cramp, those are all good, because that means that the body is starting to go, oh, it's starting to wake up. It's starting to change, because it's by what we do what we ask of our body, that demand that we put into our body, that's what makes changes, because our body adapts to the new things that we're asking from it. So different ways we can use this work. Say you're already an athlete, you've got a great movement, a great amount of movement in your life. This work could be your pre activity. It could be pre and post, meaning like warm up by doing some good postural alignment so that when you go into the activity, you're at the best you can be at that moment as far as your alignment, your ability. Then post, you cool down with, you know, some other exercises or the same things that realigns you after your activity.
Sometimes going for a walk is really good.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
walking is key,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is, okay, so you do your routine, giving me feedback, and we co-create this routine
How often,
together.
not to interrupt,
Mm.
again, explained. Um, sometimes I think people are always seeking approval. Like, am I doing it right? Am I
Yeah.
doing it right? And so I'm wondering, like, once you meet with a person, it initially, like any other visit to a therapist or it's going to take some time, right? It's going to take the time for her to assess and gather. So that's the most time you're going to probably spend, is doing all the assessments and stuff. And then how long does a person like want to re-engage with you? Because she's always available for a quick chat and everything, but I always found it helpful when I'm doing my routine is to check in and saying, "Hey, I'm doing really good. Can we add more? Or can I adjust it?" Because, there's times that I've hurt my shoulder. So for a couple weeks, I would do a shoulder routine, right? And maybe then incorporate, because the more you do it, the more confident you're going to get. And the more you're going to go, I'm going to go do static back because I know what this is. I don't need Mary. And
Yeah.
the whole purpose of this is to gain that control of your own body. Mary's available and everything.
All the tools in your toolbox
Yeah,
that you can
and
pull out because
yeah,
it's your knowledge now.
yeah, and the cool thing is that this doesn't always I would suggest doing it in person initially, but a lot of this can be worked together on Zoom or on a phone call. It's good for visualization, for Mary to see your progress, but that's where the PTX comes in,
Well,
you know?
the sessions can happen in person
Yeah,
if we're local to each other.
yeah,
That's great. It can also happen over Zoom.
which you've done. Yeah,
When COVID hit, pretty much all the postural alignment specialists, the Egoscue certified specialist, had to go online. And they found that Zoom was outrageously good. And so many of them dropped their brick and mortar locations and went online fully and have not changed from
yeah.
that because it is adequate. The exercises themselves, a lot of it is you growing in your awareness of your body, the strength in your body, etc. So we can talk it through oftentimes, things that you're experiencing. We can revisit,
Mhm.
meeting just recently, I met with Kay for doing technique on her current routine. And within that, I was able to give her slightly new things to focus on and maybe that exercise for you, now that we see it together and we can see what you're doing,
Yeah.
let's maybe back up a little bit, or
Well,
maybe
and
let's advance a little bit, and then we can tweak the current routine to meet your needs. Now, how often do you meet? It depends on you.
mhm,
Okay. If you come to me and you're very injured and you can only do a tiny little bit of work, but it's a lot of work for you, then maybe you're wanting to meet with me the next day, maybe that same week, a couple times that week. It depends on you, or you're an athlete, and you're really so strong and so already physically capable, you move quickly. So we can meet every week, you know. Um, Other people, they may find, look, I'm getting bored, with this. Like I've been doing it for 6 weeks. I feel amazing, but well, that boredom is also your body telling you, I want new stimulus.
well, and
So again, we open up the lines of communication.
yeah.
If your body's telling you, "Brr," we listen to that. If your body's telling you more, 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 then we can give you more. This type of work can go from exceedingly gentle and very, very introspective to exceedingly challenging and really fun, you know? So it depends on the person who would come to me, what they're looking for, and how quickly they might move through this work.
And I
The
also,
goal is to
yeah,
get to full independence with maybe do a check-in. You know, it's just like, oh, I just had this injury. Can
yeah,
we relook?
yeah.
You know, I need something special. Or, oh, I've got this new challenge or this new goal. Can we look at my body again? I want something new, you know, and maybe you come by, you know, every 6 months or a year, you know, just, hey, let's take those pictures again and just look at how I'm doing, you know, because now you have a number of routines
And it's
that
not,
you rotate through, and that's all for you. And it's all on the PTX app, very customizable, very quickly from our perspective of working
well,
together.
and I want to really, it's really a commitment to yourself. You cannot, Mary's not going to force you to do anything. And I find it, and I'm guilty as well. The more you put in, the more you invest in yourself in this um routine, the more you're going to be in control of your pain and move through it, and the pain will be gone. It's like, now that I can bend my, kneel and everything, I invested in this really cool yoga mat, which is like, it's got cushion, and I need cushion. I'm too old. Like, I don't care. I'm old, but I want to move. And this mat is just perfect because I'm on the floor now. I started out with what, 24 inches, like a platform that I didn't have to kneel. And I was kneeling on the platform with a nice cushion. And then I'm like, damn it, I want to get on the floor. And for a while it's just like I was in the limbo stage, and Mary wasn't forcing me, Mary wasn't instructing me or anything like that. It was me saying, I want to now. I'm ready. I'm emotionally ready. So I bought the yoga mat, and I'm so glad I did, because the minute I went down on the floor, and it's not easy. It's still not as easy to just get on the floor and everything. But now I'm on the floor and I'm doing my exercises, and especially the new routine, everything's on the floor. And now we're practicing
That's
on,
really exciting,
it
you know,
is,
I mean,
it
that's so exciting,
you
you
and me
know?
both. I mean, and now she's working with me on how to get up from the floor without putting a lot of strain on my ankles.
Well, you want all those muscles
Yeah,
to come online, you know?
yeah.
The human body,
Then,
even at 60, can get down to the floor and get up. You know people who can do that.
well,
That's also you can do
and
that.
it's not, I mean, Mary's available, but the only way it's going to happen is if I make it happen.
Right. That personal responsibility.
And I
And
think,
what you invest in yourself
yeah,
comes back to you tenfold, you know,
100%. And
100%.
I do think that you'll know when you're ready, when you put yourself first. And again, she's not there to force you. She's not there to, this is your commitment. We're meeting together. If you don't see the value in yourself, then don't do it until you are going to invest. As like, you put money towards coffee, you put money towards drinks or going out and having fun, and then you feel like shit the next day, great. But if you're not willing to put money towards uh an exercise that's so easy to do, and I have to say it's not complicated. It's not complicated enough. It's hard to say, "Oh my god, I got to work to get this knee bending," but nothing's going to happen if you don't make it happen. And so to me, it's like, it's worth the money, it's worth the time, it's worth for livelihood. I mean, even mom, she's 91, and she's working it, and and she's doing that online. And I just can't really stress enough that you have to do it.
Right. So the way
Educate
that it's
yourself.
set up is that you do the exercises on your own in your home. You do it when you go traveling. So that's what's nice about the app, is that the app comes with you.
Yep.
And if you are someone who travels, and you need certain things, oftentimes you can utilize things that are around you. You can
Yep.
also use wardrobe items. You might
Yep.
have a belt or something that you take with you in your suitcase, and therefore you've got all the equipment
And you
that
have a
is
chair
for
in your
that.
room. Yeah.
Yes, you have
I
various
did.
items in your room, and
Yeah.
you just do it. And every time you do it, you feel better. And I do it at the start of my day,
Yeah.
so that as I go through my day, I'm in an aligned, excellent, as best as I can at that for that day. I'm aligned for the day. And so then every time I move, I sit, I use my muscles, I go out on a walk, whatever I do, I'm in the best alignment that I can be. If, say, we go for a long car ride, oh, that's tough. I can tell you, as we get older, those car rides are tough on my body. We get off the road, I can do my routine. And suddenly I feel so much better
Yeah.
because I've mobilized some areas that have been really static, like sitting, 8 hours, 12 hours. I mobilized my hips and I'm like, oh my God, that feels so much better. And so that little bit, again, we're going with the body is telling us, that feels good to me. Do more of that. And that's the impetus. That's the
Really,
excitement
yeah.
behind it. And
The
so you
more
do
you,
more, you
yeah,
get more, you feel better.
100%.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it's really, and I'm more of a coach. It's a co-creative process with the menus. What is it you want to achieve? You do the work. You come back to me and you say, this isn't working, or this is outstanding. Oh, I'm feeling this. Is that okay? It's scaring me a little bit.
yeah.
I need reassurance? That's what I'm there for. You're ready for something new. Let's get together. You want to check your technique? Let's get together. So
And
I coach you through the process, and then you arrive at your goal. You
and
arrive at your goal. What is that? Oh, now I can bend over and pick something up off the floor without putting myself in a certain position, and yay, now
well,
you can do that. Now what could you do? What's your next goal? What's
I would
beyond that
say
for you?
don't push through the pain. Like
Absolutely,
if
100%. That's a cardinal rule.
I
That's the
also
body saying stop.
I also think that when in doubt, pick up the phone and call Mary.
Absolutely.
Because to me, it's like it's nothing is silly, nothing is stupid
It's
question.
actually exciting
Um,
because every little bit of feedback we get is exciting. It's
yeah.
just like, oh, that hurts. Oh, good. Don't do that. Let's try it this way.
And
Or,
there's
oh,
always
that
different,
feels good to me. Excellent. Do
yeah.
more of that. It's so simple, but it's a little bit different than
And
we think.
I think as we move into this podcast visually and stuff, there might be times where we might show you some routines.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm willing to be that person, although I am not going to dress in skin tight stuff. But I do think all ages. This isn't just for adults, it's really for our kids too.
It's
It's
for
also
seniors too.
yep, seniors, babies. I mean, there's just so many different ways that can be implemented into everyday life. And if we can treat ourselves with wellness, then you're so much happier. I mean, I mean, to me, I really do think this has really lifted me up in a way to where I have confidence in walking. I mean, so many times I'm like, "Ugh," I'm walking my dog and everything, but I'm always looking down in fear of tripping, because I've experienced that and that's no fun. Now I don't look down as much. I just walk with confidence and walk forward because I can feel the ground. I feel like even if I fell, I can get up, and that's only been 2 years. And to me, when you have such a broken body like I have had, I'm almost feeling like I'm reborn again because I'm learning to walk. I'm learning to move in a confidence way that I haven't felt that in a long time. And it's because of the posture work that I've been doing with you and all the different things that we've been learning together as far as like even the food and stuff like that. So anyways, yeah, that's to me, that is posture work.
That is
And
posture work.
so I think
Glad.
I don't know what our next episode going to be, but I hope you're enjoying this episode. I hope you're learning things and resources, and will always be down on the bottom of our channel. And if you have any questions or curiosity, reach out to us because we're here to help. Mary's the therapist, not me.
Coach.
Coach, sorry. And so, yeah, you guys have a great day. Any final thoughts?
I think that's amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk again.
All right. Have a great day. Bye.